Johnny Rocket Launchpad. And now, here's Johnny.
Hey, it's Johnny Rocket here at the Johnny Rocket Launchpad, launching ideas in your direction. The Northwest's only rock and roll libertarian radio show. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Kurt Nelson.
Yes, sir.
My voice of reason, the beautiful Miss Heather Nixon.
Well, thank you.
And we're here with Austin Petersen, all the way out in the East Coast. Where are you exactly, New York?
Oh, no, Alexandria, Virginia, just outside of the belly of the beast, Washington, D.C.
Nice.
Right on.
Right on. Right on. And so what we do here is on the Johnny Rocket Launchpad is we have a segment called Rocket Fire. And how Rocket Fire works is I'm going to ask you a series of 10 questions. These 10 questions, if you can answer these questions within roughly 30, 40 seconds, would be ideal. And we're just going to go down the line and ask these questions. And are you ready to play, brother?
Let's do it. Let's play.
Why do professional athletes get such huge salaries while teachers make much less? Do you think it's moral?
It's not a moral question. It's a market question. And the reason, I mean, if you want me to answer the morality, I will. But the reality is that the reason why is because people choose to frequent those services. They're fascinated by it. They're drawn to it. They voluntarily give their money to do it. Everything that teachers get is taken from us by force. You know, it's not, you know, if we really were invested in our communities, if we paid for our schools directly and we were all the schools were private schools, you would get teachers get paid all sorts of different wages. And a lot of it would be based on merit. There might be some schools that would pay, low, and there may be some schools that would pay high. But at least there would be options. Right now, with the way that we sort of have prison systems type of schools, like you go to school in this district, there's never going to be any kind of variety in salaries, and teachers are never going to be incentivized the same way that basketball players are. If you get an option to be a basketball player and you could do it, or versus a teacher, why wouldn't you do it? Of course, because of the incentives. But those incentives come from the marketplace, and the only reason why teachers aren't incentivized is because they don't compete in a market environment.
Question 2. How should the government institutions react to a severe bust in the natural business cycle?
Let it go. Let it go.
Nice.
We've had there's been many crises in United States history. I would encourage everyone to open their history book and turn the pages to 1921, right before the Roaring Twenties. And 1921, everybody was crying because they were eating carrots out of bins, and there was a terrible financial crisis. And after 8 to 9 months, it all solved itself. The banks that were bad went bankrupt, and then the economy recovered. But nobody wants to hear that anymore. And I read an article about this recently, and it was basically the argumentation. It was a liberal, and their argumentation on this was like, why you should do it is because it just doesn't sound nice to let it.
It doesn't feel good. It's not a feel-good policy.
Right. Of course not. But you know what? When you eat too much, you get fat. You know, when you don't eat enough, you starve. And it's just like that with an economy. And that's the economy is organic, and it's built up of many different components. The problem is that we've created a unitary monetary system where everyone's on the dollar, and we're all in these bank accounts, all controlled by the Federal Reserve. And so there's a monopoly. So if it's like, we all fall down, of course it makes it's stronger in a sense because we're all unified, but it also makes it weaker because you have only one breaking point. If the Fed screws up, we're all screwed. Rather than a floating monetary system, a free banking system, a libertarian economic system, and that would take me more than the time I could have to answer what that would look like.
Why do you think capitalism is viewed so badly?
Oh, well, there's a demonization campaign because of things like that, because of people like Ayn Rand. Libertarians tend to not be necessarily the most empathic people. We're not out there in our communities loving everyone. We're criticizing harshly the government and trying to take away welfare from single moms. That's why.
True, though. I mean, you're right.
Yeah, well, it's true. And that's because we're in the role of critic. We're in the role of opposition. If you were progressives and you're like, oh, we're going to do a big push to give single moms welfare, well, then you're going to get 1 billion votes. Right. So, our problem is that we have an image problem, and some of it is inherent, and some of it can be changed through good positive marketing, which I'm trying to do. But some of it is just going to be inherent, and we're just going to have to deal with that and hopefully just move the needle as much as we can.
Does the government create create jobs? This is a funny question, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, okay. So here's the thing: they create jobs. So it's just like if they give you a crutch, right? So, but the first thing they do is they break your fucking leg before they give you a crutch, right?
Right.
Right. So they have to everything the government. Okay, everything the government says is a lie, and everything it has stolen. That is Friedrich Nietzsche, and he's right. And
Oh.
you can't if you have a pool of water and you take a bucket and you go and you take water from one end of the pool and you put it into the other end of the pool. Have you increased the total amount of water in the pool? No, because you had to destroy a job somewhere in order to create the job.
Right.
You had to take the tax money in order to facilitate the job growth in another sector.
Right.
And government doesn't invest properly because government doesn't have the same incentives.
Exactly. They have nothing to lose.
Yes. So basically, no, the government doesn't create jobs. It creates a lot of people who dig holes and then get paid to fill them back in again.
Do you believe that campaign finance and free speech are connected?
I do, actually. I actually think money is a form of free speech, and the campaign finance reform needs to occur. I think Citizens United was a good decision, and that's not a popular thing to say because there are people like, the corporations are going to take over. I personally think that it's like that Team America World Police where Tim, what's his name, the one actor is like, oh, the Team America gets funded by the corporations, and they sit in the corporation building, and they make money.
Right.
Right.
Like liberals are so stupid, goddamn idiots when it comes to economics. So, I mean, I think the problem is that, again, when it comes to economics, most people are economically illiterate. Most people would hand up their rights, the Bill of Rights, and walk quietly into the slaughterhouse.
Exactly. I know we've been preaching this. We'll get back on that after this. What are the ways a free society could treat the use of hard and highly addictive drugs?
This is it is a societal problem. If you think that drugs and alcohol aren't a problem for society, then you got something coming because people get behind the wheel, they go and they harm people, and it's absolutely true. So I understand the conservatives' point with that, but the problem is that how you're going to deal with this, if you're going to force us to use government services in order to take care of people who do have a social problem, then instead of incarcerating people, putting them in a cage and just saying, hey, monkey boy, stay there for 20 years, why don't you give them some sort of treatment? Why don't you put them in rehab? Treat them like they do in Scandinavian countries. We're a majority white country anyway, so why don't you adopt some of these white people's system? I think a lot of the times, and I'm sort of implying that some of these policies are racist, the war on drugs are racist, but if it's a majority white problem, I guarantee you most white people are the ones using drugs, but we crack down on minorities, worst of all, because it's easier to demonize them, and so I would like to see us adopt what Scandinavian countries adopt. Their model is this legalization and treatment programs. If you've really got a drug addiction and you're going to have a problem with them, don't send them to jail, send them to rehab.
Why further hurt their lives?
Right, and again, in an anarcho-capitalist utopia, there wouldn't. How dare you suggest taking my money to pay for stupid people's drug rehab and all that kind of stuff? But and I agree. I would rather not have that. But for now, look what the Scandinavians are doing. They're a peaceful society. They have people with drug and alcohol addictions just like everywhere else, but they treat them humanely. You know what though? Americans, we're a violent people. We like to watch cops and see people get their asses kicked.
Mm-hmm.
So
we like watching them run through the cornfield.
Right. Right. And get run over.
Right.
And the thing is that that's a problem because we have a very violent nature here in the United States. It's just part of our national identity. And so I think that drug users, they become the scapegoats for our need to demonize and ostracize and hurt a sector, a very uneasily demonized sector of we need to have a little bit more compassion.
I agree. In short, what would you be the best policy on immigration?
Ideally, open borders, right? But you can't have that just because nowadays you got all kinds of crazy diseases, and you've also got terrorists, trying to blow our shit up. So I think if you look at it from the perspective of like a modern Ellis Island, my immigrants, the Petersens, they came over to Ellis Island. They had a security check, a disease check, and they were in. Mm-hmm. And so that's why not nowadays. You got to go through all kinds of hoops and stuff like that. You encourage people to break the law. You're encouraging people to do the wrong thing. So I'd like to see looser restrictions, but in some ways, but stricter restrictions in other ways, where get yourself a good terrorist identification database. Run somebody's background. Have that. Do they have basic. If you really want to become a citizen, go to the doctor, get yourself a clean bill of health, and come in. Just so you don't have MMR, measles vaccine or some weird virus or flu or something. That makes total sense. That alone, those two processes should take no more than 6 weeks, and then if you go through the process, you're in. It shouldn't be that hard.
Right on, man. And from public public schools to charter schools to voucher systems to private schooling into homeschooling. Where do you fall in that spectrum?
Say it again. You broke up.
So I'm sorry, man. So from like public schools to charter schools to the voucher system, the private schooling, where do you fall in that spectrum with education?
Okay, that's a big question. And so private schools are obviously the best. Charter schools to me are just, you're still having the government pay for it, but it's more of a market solution, which is good. Public schools, I went to public school and I actually got a good education, but then it sort of went downhill afterwards. So I can understand why, people would complain. But again, I'll support as much freedom as I can in the best way I can, which means I'm going to support private schools. But if we can't all go to private school, then I'm going to support charter schools because at least those are market options, and then, public schools, am I going to support public schools? No, but I'm going to look for ways to try and reform that system so that it does benefit all of us. And so, as a taxpayer, for God's sakes, I should at least get a say in it because I'm being forced. I don't have any kids, but I'm being forced to pay for them, so I get a say.
Right on, man. And do you agree with this statement? Being a well-informed voter, the chances are your vote counting is slim to none. It's a waste of time because your vote doesn't count or has little or no impact.
Yes and no. I mean, it depends. Where it really does? It makes sense in different sense. People always think voting for president, and that's the only thing they effing do.
Right.
Like if you join a Republican Party or the Libertarian Party, they have caucuses. Did you know they have primaries? Did you know the process at all? Most people take third grade civics and then they forget it. Mm-hmm. So they don't understand that you actually can make a difference. You have to participate. But you know what? That's what the founders wanted. If you're going to be an idiot, I'd rather you just not participate. So
Good point. Shit. Good point.
Please don't go vote if you don't know what the candidates are.
They're more worried about American Idol than they are their own country.
Yeah, it's not politically correct to say this, but please don't vote. Please don't vote if you don't know how you're doing.
No, in some ways, yeah, dude.
Yeah, no, not in some ways and always. I'm so sick of it. You don't have a right to vote, and I don't care what anybody says. I'm gonna get in 10 years. I'm gonna get on some big TV show, and they're gonna hold this against me. But I'm gonna. Hopefully, I will stand on my principles and say, listen. The reason why you don't, I believe that there's not a right to vote, is because do you have a right to vote to take away my free speech, my natural right to free speech?
No, you don't.
If 99% out of 100 people voted to take away my right to free speech, would that be legal?
No, they can't take away because that is a right. Our Constitution protects us from that.
Right.
Because we're a nation built on laws, not on mob rule.
That's right. And laws like that, like the right to vote, a right to vote makes it so that, if those rights could be in conflict. Plus, you can lose your right to vote if you become a felon or, anything like that. That can happen. Mm-hmm. So, again, it's not a right because rights are things that can't be taken away for the most part. And so I would say that, when it comes to voting, again, if you don't know what's going on, please don't vote. Voting is good in certain sense. If you go and you caucus or a primary for a candidate who's trying to win, who's libertarian, who's trying to take over the Republican Party, and you get a Rand Paul or Thomas Massie or Justin Amash. Yes, those votes matter. He won. Ron Paul won. And Rand Paul has a shot. You got Ted Cruz, you got Mike Lee. So yeah, voting can make a difference, and it can make a positive impact. So yeah, I'll vote. I'll vote for the right person. I voted for Gary Johnson. I voted for Bob Barr. I'll probably vote for Rand, but it just depends. It just depends. And again, sometimes it doesn't matter because sometimes your vote is just 1 in a million billion. And yes, that makes a lot less difference. But if you participate, if you get involved, the founders made it that way. They're like, you have to participate. It's a representative democracy. It's not a democracy.
Mm-hmm. Right on. And bonus question, Mr. Petersen.
Yeah.
You ready for the bonus one?
Yeah.
This is a fun one.
Let's hear it.
What is your favorite John Stossel episode? Come on. Bring it.
Give me a break. Anything. Joe, will you grab my wallet? Please. John Stossel, fucking A. Okay, so he's done, oh, geez. Man, I was not ready for that.
I was like, what do you think America's going to look like in 2025? No, I was asking a pretty easy one. I did not,
John Stossel's been doing episodes for years. I was watching him since I was a kid. And so John Stossel's like, my hero. I'm trying to think. I mean, he's got his specials that he's done on Fox News, hour-long specials. I couldn't say it, bro. I've seen almost everything he's done, and I love it all.
Yeah. Wait, you're not going to give yourself a shameless plug?
Well, my favorite episode is the one I was on, obviously.
There you go. Yeah, come on.
Good answer.
Anyway, so Austin Petersen, that's a rocket fire. You did really good.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Rock and roll, dude. That's badass, dude. And so it's an honor to actually have you on this show, man. Seriously, we what's up, Heather? Heather has to say something.
I had a follow-up to one of the things he mentioned during Rocket Fire.
Send it.
You mentioned during your immigration answer diseases and things like measles. And with the recent outbreak at Disneyland with measles, where do you stand on vaccinations being mandatory and regulated?
Mandatory? I don't support a mandatory. I can't, fathom, putting my libertarian beliefs so much that it's like I would jab a needle in someone's arm. But I do believe in quarantine. And if you that means that if you get sick with something like that, then you don't have the right to go and spread that to other people because that's an act of aggression. And so you better stay on your farm and you better stay in your little creepy little cave out in San Francisco.
And have your little tinfoil hat and hang out in the basement with your mom.
Yeah, yes, you better do that and not send your kids to public school and get everybody else sick and all that stuff because you're a creepy weirdo. There's just so that's fine. That's fine. Listen, I'm not going to go, looking for you in the basement with a needle and jam it in your kid's arm. I don't have any interest in that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to like sit around and and try and spin some conspiracy theory about vaccines. Like a child could understand why you get vaccines. It makes perfect sense. This isn't like like the global warming on like when it comes to like the fear mongering and shit like that. But get your vaccines. It's settled science.
Right on, man.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
How do you feel about the Libertarian Party? And where do you feel like that's going?
Nowhere.
Oh, come on, man.
I work there.
You love the philosophy.
Yeah, but the philosophy is not the party. Parties are just tools. So parties are tools. If you want to run as a Libertarian Democrat, find out in your district which has the majority of vote. Who won the last election? Was it a majority Democrat? Okay, good. Go run in the Democratic primary and compete and be an infiltrator and take over the party.
Hallelujah! Thank you so much.
Badass.
Oh my God.
But there hardly is any Democrats that are pro-liberty now.
Yeah, because too many dumb libertarians think that the Libertarian Party is where they are because they're a libertarian, and they don't understand that that politics is about power. You're not there. You want there to make a point? Great. Who gives a flip? Maybe you'll get in debates. Who cares? You're gonna protest outside? Nobody gives a shit. Like fuck you. Don't waste my goddamn time and my money. You're gonna do something. Do it for real. Like I'm so sick of this half-assed attempt at activism by putting your name on the ballot and acting like you're a hero. You're not. You're not. You're not doing anything. You're not moving the needle. You really want to care about change? You think I give a shit? Like what? You were a business guy and you ran for governor of Virginia. Well, great. But you didn't win and nobody cared. And you wasted people's money and it's not going to do anything. I say you want to run to win, do it right, figure out what the issues are, the candidates in your district, walk door to door, do the basics of campaigning. That's how you win an election. Otherwise, get in the media, say fuck, drink beer, do what you do.
Go ahead.
I love it.
You mentioned infiltrating the party. One of the things I find that libertarians often identify with Republicans, whereas most of the social issues, libertarians are more liberal. So why do you think it is that the libertarians seem to make the Democratic Party enemies instead of trying to embrace them and talk about how much we have in common?
Well, because I hate Republicans, but I fucking hate liberals, man. Like, liberals are... I mean, I hate to demonize, but I'm going to demonize. These are people. These are again humanitarians with guillotines. Most of them. But then some of them are truly evil.
I love that. Go ahead, man.
But that's Isabel Petersen, by the way. If you've never heard of her, she's one of the founding mothers of libertarianism, and she wrote "God of the Machine," and that's where I've got the essay about humanitarians with guillotines, where she very succinctly describes people who think that they are doing good for all of us by banning smoking in bars. They are banning things everywhere, and sugar and peanuts and blah blah blah. So, a lot of that's what it is. And Republicans, same thing. A lot of them. Some of them are theocrats, Rick Santorum types, but a lot of them are well-meaning. Some of them just, But the problem is that with the Republicans and the conservatives, their statism takes a different form. Listen. Okay, so here's the thing: local cops versus federal cops. Republicans love local cops and hate federal cops. Democrats hate local cops and love federal cops. Libertarians hate cops.
Good point.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it doesn't matter whether the boot on your face is a left boot or a right boot. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Do you think that I care about what kind of you're taking away my economic tyranny? They say, oh, well, the Republicans say, well, at least with your economics, you get to keep your money. I'm like, yeah, but I want to get laid.
Right.
I want to have a nasty threesome, and maybe it gets. Maybe I do get a Bell Knox porn movie. Leif Beaverson and Bell Knox star in Hollywood.
Right.
And Well, I'm like saying, I'm not saying I'm gonna do that, but my dad, if my dad ever hears this, I want to have the right to do it. I want to have the right to do it. I don't do drugs, but man, if I wanted to go do crack cocaine, I ought to be able to do crack cocaine.
Fuck yeah.
As long as I don't harm anybody else.
Exactly.
But nowadays, people don't understand. I guess I get along with Republicans more just because Republicans tend to be a bit more genteel. They're not like crass, dirty, Occupy Wall Street in your face. When you go to a Tea Party, they clean up after themselves. These are people who are stewards and who do love.
Right.
These are people
right, Occupy movement. There's beer bottles and piss everywhere.
Yeah, no, those are not. I do not identify with that.
I agree.
I don't identify that. I detest that culture. I'm not saying that I'm a prude because I am not, man. I party and fuck and I rock and roll, man.
That's what it's all about, man.
I'm a badass, but that's okay because in a conservative world, at least they're like, oh, yes, but you better go to church. You come to church with me on Sunday. But
hey, I'm gonna say a quote here. Do you know why conservatives and not libertarians are in power? Because when a conservative leader says jump, their supporters say how high. When a libertarian leader says jump, their supporters say, am I being detained?
Yeah. You guys have been following my shit. That's impressive.
We gotta fucking research you, man. I didn't want to come up here and be like, I don't know shit about you. And
who is this guy anyway?
That's amazing. I put that stuff out there, and I think only like the Facebook trolls that are sort of out there are the ones listening. But I'm glad that it's actually the message is getting out there because I'm trying to connect. I'm trying to connect with people, as many people as I can, to spread these ideas. If I keel over next week, I want it to be said, hey, at least he tried.
Yeah, that's gonna happen. He died as an alcoholic and a libertarian. Johnny Rocket, when I die, that's what's gonna be on my grave. And I want like the New Orleans band playing and the Saints go marching in.
Yes.
I want people to dance on my coffin and drink and just pour me beers, toast to me.
Get rid of that fucking guy that's like one for me and whoosh, one for me. Fuck you! I'm not pouring that alcohol on the ground.
That's expensive. That's alcohol abuse,
Pour
man.
that in a shot glass.
Somebody
right
had to
here.
pay for that. Anyway, so Al Gore, he's pushing for $90 trillion in spending to ban cars from every major city in the world.
Oh, God, I know.
Right? What the fuck is up with this douche nozzle?
Well, they get together with these economists and they do econometrics and they think, oh God, we've got a brilliant idea. Let's ban cars, and all of a sudden everything will be fine. But it actually makes
carbon
more sense.
footprint.
Yeah, no, it actually makes more sense a lot of times to use a vehicle in an urban environment, and it depends on the timing. Again, it really just needs to let the price rise, right? The problem is that a lot of times we're subsidizing things, and if you let a price rise in a marketplace, well, then you'll have the traffic will go down because it will be less economical to drive.
Mm-hmm.
Politicians don't like to obey the laws of supply and demand. Screw that, because poor people can't get to work. We need to invest more in public transportation, blah, 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 even though they can't get the buses on time.
Right on.
So anyway, Al Gore doesn't understand economics.
Obviously. Neither did Clinton.
Well, better than Al Gore.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I'd have to say I agree with you.
He created the internet, though.
The interwebs.
The webbing. He was webbing.
Yeah.
Hey, anyways, Mr. Austin Petersen, thank you very much
Thank you
for
so
showing
much,
up.
man. Thank you. Thank you.
Listening in the house, represent. You guys are amazing. I mean, what an awesome opportunity. I hope that we can talk more, guys. I want to connect. Let's cross promote.
Yes,
I want
please.
to help get the message out there. I've got a couple of websites: Liberty Viral, Libertarian Republic. I'm also going to be trying to turn this baby into like a Vice magazine here in the next few months.
Right on.
We'll see if that happens. But
whatever we can do to
I
help
hope we
you.
can work together.
Absolutely. That'd be an honor. That'd be an absolute fucking honor, man. Because
Awesome.
that's what we want to do. We have the same goal.
Let's do video or something sometimes.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Oh, that'd be badass.
What I have to put on? I have to put on makeup then.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no clothes.
Oh, nobody wants to see that. Nobody.
I don't know, Heather.
All right. Anyways, this is Johnny Rocket here at the Johnny Rocket Launchpad, launching ideas in your direction. We're going to listen to some... I'm just saying. What the fuck? Anyways, we had Austin Petersen. We're going to rock and roll. We're going to take the Johnny Rocket Launchpad crew. We're going to fucking drink some more beer, and we'll be back after these messages.